Coming up, ICT hits the road. We sent a team of journalists to the Reservation Economic Summit to see changemakers in action. Land is the focus through Indigenous foods and cannabis farming. And in California, attorney Dick Trudell reflects on tribal sovereignty and education. I'm Aaliyah Chavez. Join us for those interviews plus headlines from the ICT Newscast.
This program is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people.
Arizona State University welcomes 3,500 Indigenous students from Arizona and across the nation. It serves one of the largest populations of Indigenous students among U.S. colleges and universities. We created a sense of place for tribal nations to create futures of their own making through community outreach and research, taught by world-class Indigenous faculty where they see a reflection of themselves and their experiences. Find community at ASU.
This is the ICT Newscast with Aaliyah Chavez.
Amadawa Hopa, thank you for joining us. We start today in New York, where the Seneca Nation is celebrating a legal win. The tribe is challenging an agreement from 1954 that granted the state permission to build part of the New York Thruway on 300 acres of tribal land. The tribe says the land deal for the major highway was illegal and that they were pressured to make the move at the time. The state of New York went against that, asking the judge to dismiss the case on a number of legal grounds. Last week, a federal appeals court rejected the state's request, which means the claim should now be heard in court. Seneca Nation President Ricky Armstrong Sr. hailed the ruling. He said, "The Thruway is a 300-acre scar on our territory." Staying in New York, the Cayuga Nation is celebrating a land-back victory. The Bureau of Indian Affairs has approved the nation's application for 101 acres of land to be transferred into trust. The application was filed in April 2005, making it the longest pending trust application before the BIA. It was initially rejected in 2020, despite similar applications from other nations being approved. The nation challenged the rejection, and in late 2021, the BIA announced it would reconsider it. Finally, last month, the decision approving the nation's trust application was signed. The nation operates a number of businesses on their new trust land, including an electronic gaming facility, a gas station, and a convenience store. The Cayuga Nation was landless for almost 200 years due to a series of illegal land sales to the state of New York in 1795 and 1807. Since 2005, the nation has acquired over 1,200 acres of its homeland and to offer housing and business opportunities that support its citizens. This year's American Indian Higher Education Consortium Basketball Championship marks its first national tournament since the pandemic. ICT senior producer Vincent Moniz was at the event to cover what many are calling the Tribal Final Four.
Indigenous people's connection to basketball dates back 1,000 years to the ancient Mayans and the version they played. The American Indian Higher Education Consortium is keeping this long tradition alive with its annual national tournament. Indigenous student athletes from all over Turtle Island met in Newtown, North Dakota, playing a fast and loose style dubbed Resball. Mandan Hiradza Arikara Nation citizen and AHEC Athletic Commissioner Twyla Baker talks about the many reasons these tournaments exist.
To me, it's incredibly exciting to be able to start bringing that talent to a national stage. And so we need to have these types of venues. We need to be able to also, bring up our level of play and our competitiveness and our venues and give these kids something other than, God bless independent tournaments and everything that they do, because that's the lifeblood of Resball. But we also need to give them these types of opportunities so they can see what's possible for their future.
AHEC operates more than 75 campuses in 16 states and serves students from more than 250 federally recognized tribal nations. The competition, hosted for a second time by Nueta Hiratsa Sahnish College, brought together 12 women's and 10 men's teams. This is the first time many of the native athletes will have ever played in any tournament. For Navajo Technical University guard Samantha Antone, whose team traveled from New Mexico, This was a great chance to expand her horizons.
In all honesty, I've never really played in a tournament before. This is my first time going with AHEC. And to play with all Native schools and all Native refs, it's a little bit different than high school, most definitely. But it's pretty fun, you get to expand and realize there are a lot more tribal universities. And so, yeah.
This year's champions included the Chief Dull Knife College women's and the Northwest Indian College men's team. And beyond the winner's circle, this was an incredible showcase of Indigenous fellowship and athleticism. In Nueta Hiratsa Sahnish territory, Vincent Moniz, ICT News.
A new group will soon be inducted to the National Native American Hall of Fame, and one of them is a familiar face. Mark Trahant is a veteran journalist and ICT's editor-at-large. The former president of the Native American Journalists Association was a finalist for the 1988 Pulitzer Prize in National Reporting. Mark is one of 6 total inductees. These individuals have contributed to Native American law, journalism, advocacy, writing, and entertainment. The other Hall of Famers include Native rights advocate Lenata Warjack, former Quinault Nation President Joe De La Cruz, novelist Leslie Marmon Silko, attorney Dick Trudell, and actor Will Sampson. This award was established in 2016 and serves to honor the Native heroes and changemakers in American history. For more information on this year's inductees, search Native American Hall of Fame on the ICT website at ictnews.org. And those are the headlines for the ICT Newscast. Time magazine named the Sioux Chef, Sherman, to its annual list of the 100 most influential people in the world. His restaurant Owamni is dedicated to decolonizing cuisine. It was recognized by the James Beard Foundation as the best new restaurant in America in 2022. ICT's Shirley Sneve has this interview from the Res Conference in Las Vegas.
Well, we've just arrived here at the Res Conference, and who do I run into but my cousin? Great to see you, Sherman.
Nice to see you also. Thank you.
And what are you doing here?
This is my first Res, so I'm excited. We did some menu stuff with them, so we sent them some recipes, and they're going to be serving some recipes that we created for them. And I'm actually trying to find the right people to drop off some food stuff so they can finish it. And then this morning I'm on a panel with Andy Murphy on Farm Bill stuff.
The Farm Bill, that's really interesting. What's your particular take on it, and what do you want to see?
I just want to see, I think it's a great opportunity, obviously, because it's every 5 years and it's, coming up right now, and obviously the politics are a mess, but, it's going to go through no matter what, because it has to. And if we're able to squeeze in some rewordings and a few other things, there's a lot of pieces that could be added to really help with just Indigenous food availability and production and everything across the board, and accessibility.
And how does that impact what you do in the restaurant?
For me, the restaurant's just, it's a proof of concept that we can have this really nice, modern Indigenous restaurant in a beautiful setting, full staff, because I think we have 150 employees, and, it's a really beautiful thing. But my larger work is with the nonprofit and just creating the 2 pillars of the nonprofit, which is NATIVS, or North American Traditional Indigenous Food Systems, is creating access to Indigenous foods and creating access to Indigenous education. So with the Farm Bill, that's where it really works, because our vision is trying to spread out across North America to help set up support systems for more Indigenous culinary operations. And there's just a lot of hurdles and a lot of situations that the government, their rules, hinder us from having our own Indigenous foods around, especially when it comes to proteins or moving foods across state lines and things like that. And there's just a lot of little fixes that we need to keep pushing for to have a healthier, better economics around Indigenous foods in general, and just to really see it grow over the next few decades.
One of the things that I'm grateful for my parents, even though at the time I wouldn't have told you I was grateful, is that we always had big gardens when I was growing up. It was great because I learned to appreciate agriculture and farming and where your food comes from. And I think that that's an opportunity that reservation-based schools can do is to introduce agriculture and what it has to do with their life early on.
Absolutely, it's that connection to growing, it's that connection to just how plants work, and just seeing food and from a different perception where a lot of kids just grow up thinking food comes from the grocery store, and there's no connection to how food is actually grown. So it's really important for our education to really focus on how do we grow food, how do we see food, how do we identify food out in the wild, and how do we utilize that.
And how's the winter been for you?
Well, in Minnesota, it's like the North Pole, basically. So, we have a really nice growing season because it's just starting. We just started maple tapping, like this last weekend. And so it's slowly going to turn back into food season. So we'll have about 5 months of good weather and about 18 months of winter again in the end.
18 months of winter. My daughter sent me snow pictures over the weekend. It was crazy.
Oh, I know. We had a foot of snow just out of nowhere. So.
Oh, geez. So tell us a little bit more about the nonprofit and what's up with that.
So Nonprofit Natives, we're based in South Minneapolis. We're right on Lake Street in Minneapolis, and we're about ready to launch a native market space. So our community around us in the city will have access to purchasing Indigenous food products that we'll be curating and growing and even making products ourselves out of our own kitchen. And then we also have a native classroom where we're just going to be hosting a whole bunch of Indigenous focused curriculum, everything from culinary and food preservation and cooking techniques to language and crafting and medicinals and foraging and farming, whatever it might be. We're just creating a space to teach Indigenous education. And everything we teach is going to be recorded because we invested into lots of video stuff, so we can just record everything, edit it, get it online, and just create a ton of video content on all sorts of Indigenous focused curriculum. So that's an exciting piece, and that's ready to launch within just the next couple of months. So we're really excited because that was the first model of what the Indigenous Food Lab, which is the public-facing piece of our nonprofit, is supposed to be. And then we're already working to creating more extensions of Indigenous food labs in different regions. So we're already planting seeds to open one in Anchorage, Alaska, Bozeman, Montana, Rapid City, South Dakota, and even beyond. So there's a lot of interest out there, and we're trying to create a system that we can just keep building and keep creating regional center points for more education development, more food access.
Well, thank you, Sean Sherman, chef from Minneapolis. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
An overarching theme of the Reservation Economic Summit is sovereignty. It's sponsored by the National Center for American Indian Enterprise Development and means business for tribal governments, elected officials, and Indigenous entrepreneurs. ICT's Mackenzie Allen Charmley reports.
What is tribal sovereignty? Thousands are gathered here at Res, hoping to empower for generations. But what exactly does tribal sovereignty mean?
Well, that's a good question. There's a lot of answers.
Tribal sovereignty to me is the ability for our communities to live out the way that we were meant to live out, the way that our ancestors fought for us to be here. And that is to have that sovereignty of ourselves, the sovereignty of our people, that self-governance piece.
For some, it's about recognition on a large scale.
Having the ability to just do business with the government, and I don't have to have a permission every time I go into a business deal.
Tribal sovereignty, to me, it's so important. It's the ability of tribes and Indian people to be able to make their own laws and to exercise our own flex our own laws. We as Indian tribes we pre-existed the United States, and so I think it's so important that we understand we're not parties to the Constitution because we were
For others, it's about tradition.
Tribal sovereignty to me means that I have a responsibility to my ancestors to do better in the current communities and climates that we're living in. And so for me to operate in this typical non-native space is to enforce my voice and really express the trials and tribulations that our people have been through.
To live our own way, our own lives without any interference from churches or state governments or federal governments or anyone trying to push agendas or different educations that go against our connection to the earth, the waters, the natural way of life.
Almost all we spoke to here say tribal sovereignty is about uplifting and supporting each other.
To me, tribal sovereignty means that we take care of our own.
We're, I think, writing history right now about what tribal sovereignty can look like in contemporary times and what tribes are capable of when we are the authors of our own narrative.
In Las Vegas, Nevada, on the homelands of the Southern Paiute people, Mackenzie Allen Charmley, ICT News.
And I'm also extremely excited.
Cannabis is a growing industry as legalization continues to expand across the country. Rob Perro is the CEO of Cann-digenous and the Indigenous Cannabis Industry Association. ICT's Paris Wise has this interview from Res 2023 in Las Vegas.
Well, Rob, thank you so much for joining us here today at Res. Can you tell us a little bit about your business, Cann-digenous?
Yes, Cann-digenous is a cannabis company born out of Wisconsin. We jumped into the industry in 2019 to really create a pathway showing that point of entry to this industry could be for anyone. We worked with our American Indian Chamber in Wisconsin to put a business plan together to do a hemp grow for the purpose of development of CBD products. And since then, we've built a brand around it. We sell products all over the country. We've helped other brands go to market. And then getting into that space has allowed me to kind of work in some advocacy parts, which in turn helped me, kind of instigated me to develop ICIA last year.
So what was the interest, what was the spark that got you into this?
I'm passionate about cannabis, and I've been, consumer of cannabis, for 20 plus years. It's always been a good, safe space for me, to self-medicate. I've seen a lot of things in my day with it being, federally illegal, where people's lives have been, ruined and flipped upside down. I've also seen where, and heard the stories of tribes trying to pursue opportunities in the market with, repercussions there. So there's a lot of apprehension around it. But for me, I knew that if there was an opportunity to get into the space, I was going to take it.
Right, there is still a lot of apprehension. People are still a little hesitant to step into this industry, particularly because of the connection between Native communities and substance abuse. What would you say to that barrier?
Yes, there's definitely issues that our communities face, and each communities have to collectively look at those, on their own and figure out what's best, for a path forward for them. But in regards to substance abuse, what we look at is data and building data sets, and not just using data sets that are already out there, but building data sets that are by Indigenous, for Indigenous, that understand our own mortality and our own health issues. And also, looking at the numbers of the states where marijuana has become legal and seeing the dramatic drop in opioid use, which leads to less substance abuse in those communities. So we're seeing proof of it out there. We just have to do our own quantitative data on our end for our own communities.
And you're on a panel here at Res called Advancing Sovereignty in Tribal Hemp and Cannabis. What are you excited to share in that conversation?
What's really exciting, the opportunities for our tribal communities specifically to utilize sovereignty around, legalization and how they're going to regulate this plant medicine in their communities. Also around building codes, around industrial hemp and tribal housing, about opportunities they have to be innovative in the housing space, around climate smart agriculture, and really kind of instigating us as being farmers again and being self-sustaining for our communities. It's really limitless. When I think about hemp or cannabis sort of as this iceberg, and industrial is this massive chunk moving across, and then we see these little ice cubes in medicinal and rec, but there's really a much bigger picture that we haven't seen yet and still yet to be discovered.
And since we're in Vegas, can you talk about some of the parallels you might be seeing in the cannabis industry that we might have seen in the past for gaming?
Yeah, I mean, it gets brought up often, the parallels between IGA and ICIA, and why IGA was needed, obviously, was to put regulation in around gaming so that tribes could have an opportunity to be in that space with peace of mind of knowing that the state or the federal government wasn't going to come in and take that away. So what they did was they got organized. And now you see what that has become, years and years later, with what a strong presence and national presence IGA is. That's what we want to do. That's a beautiful model for us, and we know that, the models that IGA and gaming used in regards to compacting, that's not a perfect science for cannabis and hemp, but the overall idea of the tribes and the tribal businesses and us as individual community members getting organized for a greater cause absolutely is a parallel, and we're proud to be considered in that same space.
Can you walk us through some of the growth that you've already seen in the industry and where you see it continuing?
We're just seeing tribes and tribal businesses knowing that there's others participating in the space, knowing they have access to more resources, be bold. They're taking action. They're taking action in states in utilizing sovereignty where the state may not be legal, but a tribe now is going medicinal. So you're seeing steps taken with more resources to back up that peace of mind of making sure that they're taking the right steps at the right time. So we just have more data and assets, kind of in our quiver, and I think we're just building confidence as we go. And there's also something in Native country that's called FOMO, fear of missing out, and we've kind of built this network where people can get a glimpse of what everyone else has going on, and it's encouraging or giving them a bit of FOMO that they better get their act together and be proactive about this space.
That was Rob Perro. Dick Trudell has a long career working to improve the lives of Native Americans. In 1973, he founded the first of its kind American Indian lawyer training program. Since then, he has watched the ranks of Native lawyers swell from a mere handful to thousands today. He's played a major role in convening tribal leadership forums over the decades. ICT's Stuart Huntington sat down with Trudell at his home in the San Francisco Bay Area. He asked if Trudell saw a particular opportunity for progress.
I think that there has to be more conversations in an intergovernmental way with states and local governments. I mean, they have a shared future, and so they've got to find a way to work together and work out their differences. I mean, so they can kind of come up with mutually beneficial solutions to a problem that affects both. It's been a struggle to get state governments in particular to really respect tribal governments, and unfortunately so many of them don't know much about the history, won't take time to understand the history, but tribes are real governments, and their sovereignty means a lot to them. But anyway, so that area, just the concern about intergovernmental relations going forward, it has to be stronger, a better foundation for it. And it's like agreeing to disagree, but to work out your differences.
Sir, is there something that you have seen in your career that gives you hope?
Yes. When I decided to go to law school and got my law degree, and and it had to decide what am I going to do next. They were just a small handful of tribal or Indian attorneys. Fast forward today, as I mentioned earlier, there's somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000. So I have hope that, and I'm optimistic, we have many more young Native professionals in different disciplines, medical, business, law, academics, education, or what have you. So that gives me hope that they'll respond to the challenges they face.
Sir, you mentioned that that you thought the Biden administration was doing a good job.
The Biden administration, I think, has really gone out of its way to make sure that tribes have a seat at the table, and I think really starting with a cabinet member, Deb Haaland, and they've made some judicial appointments, which we've really haven't had before. There's beginning to be a few Indians serving as judges in different district courts across the country. The one area we haven't probably seen is much activity that I would like to see is the Department of Justice, because you've got the FBI, you've got other law-related entities, and I don't quite see Indian involvement the way we should be represented. U.S. Marshals, FBI, the different agencies within Department of Justice, U.S. attorneys, and hopefully that's coming. But again, it really turns sometimes on who you know, and politics are politics. But the Biden administration has done better than anybody I mean, and I used to think that the Clinton administration started to do a few things, but they didn't go as far as as Biden and Obama as well. I mean, Obama did some good things, but Biden has exceeded what they've done financially and in terms of political appointees.
Sir, I want to ask you, do you have a message? Let's say that there's a senior at Haskell right now. Do you have a message for her, sir?
My word would be to a young person is, expose yourself to as much as you can, because you never know what you really want to do until you've kind of seen things that may attract you or may attract your interest. And we have many more kids in college, and even with the tribes that have the community colleges. So education is critical, and we have a ways to go, but we've come a long ways just in the past 40 years or so. So I remain optimistic, and all it takes is 1 or 2, 3 people to make a big difference in any given area. And so I think we're at a good place. We have a long ways to go, and obviously future generations are going to experience different challenges.
And that's a slice of our Indigenous world. For all the latest, visit ictnews.org. From all of us in the newsroom, stay safe, my relatives.
This program is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people.